Can you tell us about the first steps you took to get into a retail shop?
So I kept going to the store in my neighborhood until I had the courage one day and I had a picture on my phone and I just said, "Hey, I'm a local artist. Can you look at what I have on my phone?" And she said, "Wow, I'm really interested." And I said, "Oh, good. I have a piece in my car. Can I bring it in?" I think she took 5 pieces and in 2 hours she sold 3 pieces. Like
Oh,
she
wow.
told me last. Yeah, because I left them there on consignment. I'm like, I don't know, see what happens. So I don't like the cold calling. It hasn't really worked for me. It's about going into the store, showing my face, showing them my work, and having a conversation.
Please welcome to the Inspiration Place, Alyssa Peak. Well, hey, Alyssa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I love all the art that's behind you.
Thank you.
Can you talk about that for people listening
Yeah,
or watching?
this is part of my newer work where I am incorporating photography that I took by image transfer or other means, and in then doing collage on top of it. So it's bringing texture and emotion. So there's this one with gold leaf. There's this where I did image transfer and then just a picture of the image transfer and then painted on top of it like layers. And I'm just discovering the layers and layers of my own creativity. And
Bring
it's
the
been great.
one that is behind with the smallest one with the rose in it. Bring that one closer so we can just talk about it.
Okay, so the background is layers and layers of textures of things that I just put on this board and actually didn't like and hated, and I ripped it all off. And then what was left was this remnant of a background. And then I painted on top of it. And then I've had these two photos. These are two separate photos that I then took this photo and image transferred it onto this collage and transferred this image onto a collage. So it's two different sets of flowers on top of a collage.
Yeah, and so it's very abstract for people who are listening or people who need somebody to tell them what it is that I notice, which is a
Exactly.
thing. That's why you have people walk around museums. Okay. So it's very abstract if you look at it, which is what I like because you can't really tell what it is until you start thinking about it and trying to decipher. But on the upper corner, it's kind of like an up close image of a flower, whereas the lower corner, it looks like more the field of flowers. Is that right?
Yeah, and my look in photography is always blurry, so it's actually like a blurry picture of an up close flower
Yeah.
there. Like
Yeah.
that.
It's really beautiful. And that rose color, which is very much on trend right now, by the way. Not
Yes,
that you're
I what the cinnamon whatever it
yes.
is.
Yes. I mean, I do
Yeah.
want to speak for a moment about that because people feel like, well, why am I going with trends? Am I going to lose my voice as an artist? And I don't know what your thoughts about. Actually, I want to know what your thoughts are about that. We can
Well,
have a discussion.
I'll just talk about that particular color because I saw
Yeah.
your challenge to do a
Yeah.
piece with it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to go to the store. I need to get that color. But that color is so not me that I still may play with it, but I have a particular color palette that is blues and greens and pinks that really speak to my heart. Like I did a solo show in 2016 in New York City, and when I had all my work lined up to hang, I started crying because I was like, oh, this is like my self-portrait. Every piece is a part of my soul, and that color just doesn't fit into my soul.
It can though. So here's a couple of things I want to say about that. So because like that piece you have has it.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
that's
it
number
does,
one.
but it's not you had asked for the main color
No,
to be
I
that.
would
Yeah,
count
yeah.
that. I hope you're going to send that in.
Oh, I'll
So
send it in.
yeah, send it in because one of the things that I sent in the most recent email. So what Alyssa's talking about is I sent a call to action to my artist incubator members, and by the time this podcast slash YouTube video goes live, we'll be able to link up to the two videos that I have. One challenge I said was use Pantone's color of the year or show me how you may have incorporated that color, which is a taupe color, which is not a color I see in your art. And then the second one I sent them was Benjamin Moore's Cinnamon Slate. But if you look at Benjamin Moore's site, and I just sent this email out yesterday, they don't just pick a color of the year, they also tell you a palette. So they
Hmm.
show you these are the blues that would look good with this color, and these are the greens, and it's kind
Oh,
of
I'll look at that.
yeah, moving to the softer colors. But the other colors that you have, it may not be Benjamin Moore's pick, it may not be Pantone's pick, but Valspar picked a blue color that's very similar to your blue. And then the other color, I think, is Sherwin Williams picked like a minty green color, which is
Hmm.
also in your color palette.
Yeah.
So we're all influenced by the world around us, whether we want to be or not. And that is true of us as artists. And that's also true of our art collectors, are also influenced by what's trending and what's going on and what is in the cultural zeitgeist. So, like what you are responding to and what are you are needing to do looks like calm to me. And that is
Yes.
something
But
not
also,
trending.
it's interesting because my newest work is this,
Well, that
which
has the
is,
red that I'm talking about.
there you go. So this is
Okay.
my newest one because,
Send
so I
that one
live
to
at
me
the,
too.
okay, I live at the
Yeah.
beach, right? And so I am always bringing the outside in, and it's so green and it's so blue, and that's the influence in most of my work. And then lately I've been craving color, but I've also come to realize I love flowers,
Yeah.
which I always do ocean, 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 coastal. But in my heart, every piece I have of my own in my house is floral. I don't even have beach in my house, like hanging.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I've 2025 is about me embracing flowers, which I have another one here to show you. Not that this is
No,
show
pull
and
that one
tell.
back up. No, pull that one
Wait,
back
there's
up
also
again.
wait, there's also this
No, we're
one.
not ready for that. Pull the other
Okay.
one back up. By
Okay.
the way, that one is also has rose colors. Hello. Why do you? Okay. So I'm going to just talk for people who are blind, who can't see it. Upper right corner, very strong burgundy red. Then there's a central color that's a softer rose. There is some taupe in it, like there's some writing or newsprint or things in it. There is blue, but it's balanced out by these strong pinks. That was something that the Wall Street Journal was talking about, that what's now on its way out in home decor are things that are more tepid. And what's coming in now are deep purples, browns, reds, ochres. And it's something that we're craving because these are colors of the natural world. So, in other words, what's going out is that kind of Apple store look. Do you know what I'm talking about? You ever walk into people's homes and it looks like an Apple store? It's all white.
Yeah.
And now people want something.
Like color, saturation. And I
Yes.
think that like these works and this my photography, which is my fine art photography, is more soothing, calmer,
Yes.
peaceful, serene. And my newer work is more saturated, I would say. And my
Yeah.
soul, like I'm craving the saturation of
Yeah.
color. Yeah,
I mean, even look what you're wearing, how that there's more of like a dark green on your
right,
blouse that's in that artwork.
right,
It's,
right.
yeah.
And so this one I think is interesting too, because what I'm discovering is just like again the layers. I started painting with coffee at the bottom base later, and then that didn't really work out. I started layering and layering and layering, and then decided to put flowers on top of it. But it's a mix of oil pastels, acrylics, newspaper, the mesh, and some oil sticks
It's quite
in this.
beautiful. Okay,
Thank you.
bring the other one back now
Okay.
that was showing me.
It is. So this is a photograph of a flower that I took. And I think the one thing in art, and I'm going to be honest about this, is there's always happy mistakes,
Yes.
right? That happen. So I took this flower. I actually took it from the ground up, like looking up to the sky. So the background where you see pink on my phone is actually blue sky, but I guess my printer was out of blue and printed it pink on pink.
Oh, very interesting. But there is
Yeah.
some
And
blue in there.
but then I was making another painting and I laid the photograph on top of the painting, pressed it, and whatever stuck to this is what stuck on it. So it makes, and I was thinking about this last night, like it's like the flower is distressed. And I
Yes.
think there's like even not what I'm wearing today, like if I were to be wearing a blazer, it would have like ripped edges. I like distressed stuff. That's why I think my photography is always blurry. There's always a little not so perfect. I don't like things to be perfect, right? I always like it to be a little messy, a little torn, a little something. And
Tell
so
me
by putting the
how,
paint,
tell me how that kind of mistake, messy, how that enters into your portrait photography, like your headshot photography, if it
doesn't.
does. It doesn't
It
at
really
all.
it doesn't.
Okay.
No,
All right.
no, no.
But there certainly has to be a point of view that people are coming to you for, that there's an eye that you're bringing to that,
I definitely think there's an eye that I'm to the portrait photography.
to your headshots. Yeah, there's got to be. I mean,
There is. I just interviewed a client the other day, and they all say the same thing to me. It's what I can pull out of them. Like a lot of people, I really call my almost like a coach with the camera. What I'm there not to really take a picture of what they look like. I really want a picture of who they are. I want to see their energy. I want to see their breath. I want to see them. I will take pictures and say like, I don't see you, Miriam. Show me, like, I know you're there, but that's not Miriam. Miriam's not coming through. And so I really want to make sure that my clients come through themselves. And so
so it's capturing, everything is capturing kind of an essence rather than,
yes, yes.
yeah.
And so like there's an essence to the things that I am doing here. It's not perfect. It's not really a landscape. It's not really of anything. It's just, I go for feeling. It's always the feeling.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay. Now, since this is a podcast for artists who want to make money from their art, or at least I
Mhm.
think it is, let's talk about how the Artist Incubator has helped you sell more art, sell more of your photography, and be more successful. Because in the incubator now, and you've been part of my inner circle for a 3 month cohort. And I want to hear about some of the lessons you've had that you've been able to apply to making a bigger career for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's about one, calling yourself an artist, which I have been doing for a long time, but really like declaring this is who I am and what I want to do and be known as. The other is having a production schedule, which is always good. So I think that's what this has been really big good for me. Like there is no waste of time. I was on the coaching program from on Monday with what's her name, Runa,
Sean Roney. Yeah.
Sean Rooney.
Yeah.
She was so good on Monday because sometimes I feel like I'm wasting time doing this stuff, yet nothing's a waste of time. Like everything is getting you to where you need to be. It was exactly what I needed to hear at exactly the right moment. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Collecting emails, like I used your card and really collecting emails. My pricing, I've just redid my pricing for 2025. So increase that. And I'm working on expanding into new stores because I'm different than a lot of your other artists that I don't necessarily sell in galleries, but I sell in retail stores. It's a
Yeah.
different model.
Yeah, we have a few different paths, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're selling. I mean, some people are selling in galleries, some people are selling in the festival circuit, some people are only selling online, some people are doing what you're doing. So there is no one path up the mountain. One thing I think that it's important for the listeners to hear, Alyssa, though, is where I see artists stumbling is when they try to go up the mountain with three different paths at the same time instead of just picking one and reaching the top. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Does that
Yeah.
resonate with your experience?
It does. Like my path is retail, and that's really am. Now, I haven't really tried retail with this work because retail is different animal. Like they want that finished product. They don't necessarily want the unfinished. So I actually have an appointment next week to speak to a gallery about this, but that would not carry my art. Like it's different. I think it's different buyers, possibly.
Well, I mean, you could do retail without body of work as well. What Alyssa's referring to is she has her fine art photography, which she has in retail shops, And the only issue she has is that if she were to put the same art that we've been discussing that is in the video that you can see side by side with the photography, it can be confusing for the collectors. Is this the same artist? So
Right.
it's almost because you have these two bodies of work, you have to double your efforts to find different venues for your other
And
body of work.
it's interesting because with photography, I do limited editions of 18 and things can be custom sized and done and come in different sizes. Original art is original art, right? It's like
Yeah.
one and done. So it's a learning curve.
Yeah. Let's share a little bit about your fine art photography business because there's a lot of people listening who really would benefit from that. Would you
Sure.
mind sharing like how much your photography is retailing for? And let's, if you don't mind sharing like what it sells for retail framed and then like what you get from that.
So I only sell it framed. I have a custom like way I frame it. So I like to have it framed. And a 30 by 40 is $1,800. A 24 by 36, I think it's, I just changed my prices. I want to say, what is a 40 by 60 is 3,800. I'll
Yeah.
just give you those two
Yeah.
as a
And no one's
range.
going to hold you to it if you
Yeah.
misquoted something. And we're
Yeah.
not going to say, but on the podcast you said. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's interesting because I've gone to a smaller size because I have a particular store and I just really increased my prices there because I don't like, as you always say, I don't like to sell small art. Like
yeah.
most of my art I sell is 30 by 40 or larger. I've done up to 9 feet for two pieces. So I've done big pieces. Um, but I just did raise the price up my 20 by 24 to 9.95.
Okay, so let's say let's just make an even number just to make it easier. Let's just say it's a
Mm-hmm.
$2,000 piece it's retailing for. What is the store taking and how much did you spend on framing for that?
So the store takes 40%. And it's all in commission consignment. I'll say that that's an important piece. I find that stores don't buy art, which I don't understand. Maybe you can explain that to me, but it is consignment. So it just means I own it till they sell it. And it that piece cost me 265.
Okay, so in other words, you make, let's just pretend it's a $2,000 sale. The store gets 800, the framer gets 200, and you make it $1,000.
Yeah. Well, the way I really been working it out with because we've talked about pricing models because I pay my printer and my framer is the same person.
Yeah,
So it's almost like I'm buying a product.
yeah,
And then the way I do the 40 by 60 is I make sure the retailer and I are after framing are making the same amount as
exactly.
close
Good.
to. Because
That's
there have
great.
been times when they were making more than me because of the cost. And that's why I
Yes,
just raised my prices on my
yes,
little smaller pieces so I have to feel good. Maybe it's like a
exactly.
$5 I'm losing, but I was losing $25 and I don't want to lose the 25. Like, why should
Yeah,
they make
don't
more
think
than
of it
me?
even as losing or whatever.
Yeah.
Just think of it
Yeah.
that you just built, you're building and I'm talking more to the people listening than I am to you. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's that you need to build the cost of framing into the fact that the store or the gallery or whoever it is going to take a commission. And it isn't fair that they're buying it on consignment. They just are doing it because they're taking advantage of artists. I mean, I don't think the couch that's in the furniture store is on consignment. I'm sure they have to pay for that before
Yeah.
it goes into their store, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everything in there, they're not selling that on consignment. It's only for artists.
It's only artists. I don't understand it. I wish I could change it. Sometimes I have put my foot down where they want a piece that's not maybe my strongest piece. And I'm like, well, you'd have to buy that from me, right? If that's the one you really want. Because otherwise they're asking me to invest in a piece that I know maybe is a tougher sell. That makes sense?
Interesting. Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Yes, it
Yeah.
does. I've had that experience where somebody insisted that like they wanted prints framed in their windows and they insisted I put art there that I didn't think would sell. And I wish I had done what you did. Like no, if you want that, you have to buy it because yeah,
Yeah.
smart. Some galleries will, by the way, buy artwork when they really want to represent an artist, but a decor stop isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to be in stores that your price point also fits in, right? Because they're selling sofas. I don't do well that so well in the stores where it's selling only tabletop.
Yeah.
You know, they're selling napkin rings because if the price difference is too much. But if they sell furniture and they have an interior design angle to their store, that works for me.
Well, also, isn't your artwork being shown over the sofa? So they're buying a
Yes.
look.
Yes.
That makes a big
Yes.
difference.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It really does.
Which is
It
also
does.
why we have to pay attention to what is trending. So, luckily for Alyssa with her fine art photography, beach is never going out of style.
Yeah, but it's funny because I had this one piece that was like I couldn't keep it in stock, and then one day it just died. It
Yeah,
just one
no,
day
that
it just,
happens.
so it's beach, it's blue, and I don't know. Maybe there's something about it that was
Something always has a lifespan. Like that was something that I learned about in so people who are listening who do surface patterns or licensing, that designs have a shelf life. Like you can't they're not selling the same fabric forever and ever. It's like usually it's an 18-month shelf life of a certain design, a certain pattern, a trend. And even though we don't think what we're doing is something that's trended, it still is. Even fine art. Like if you look at art history, I mean, there's abstract expressionists, and then it was Art Deco, and then it was pop, and then it was like big art movements. They happen, things rise and fall together, which is still a trend.
right.
We're not
It's
immune
life,
to we're
right?
not
Like,
immune
yeah,
to it. So it's like you can't say, "Oh, I'm not a true artist if I'm not doing what I want to do." It's like, no, actually you are a true artist if you're part of a big movement and you are speaking to what is the zeitgeist of the moment. That is
yeah.
what being a true artist is.
But even in my fine art photography, that it's about the ocean, it's never just photography. It's always I went into Photoshop and I painted it a different color, or I flipped the wave over, or I filled in
Mm,
areas. And so I've textured it with filters that maybe it's a picture on top of a picture, or I took the image jumping is what I do a lot. I like movement. So I'll jump and I'll move to like make the blur effect. So
yeah.
sometimes that's the post production, but sometimes it's actually taking the picture the way I do to make it the blurry and the movement. So I always want to get a feeling. I really, I have a few of like just a photograph, but it's very rare that it's just a photograph. And
Makes
now it's
sense.
like, and now I have pictures where I've made a collage and then I photograph the collage. So it's collage, photograph, and then photograph of the collage. And that's been selling for me of one of my surfer pieces. So
Wow.
it's a lot of lay back and forth on which medium I'm using. So it's fun.
Okay. So, Alyssa, can you speak to the artists who maybe are not in home decor shops or retail and they want to get started? Can you tell us about the first steps you took to get
Mm-hmm.
into a retail shop?
Yeah. So I kept going to the store in my neighborhood and I just kept going in until I had the courage one day and I had a picture on my phone and I just said, "Hey, I'm a local artist. Can you look at what I have on my phone?" And I showed her. So there was no cost involved, right? And I showed her and she's like, "Wow, I'm really interested." And I said, "Oh, good. I have the piece in my car. Can I bring it in?" So I went to the car and I brought it in. And she's like, "Oh, that's interesting. You have more?" I said, "I'll be right back." I ran home. I brought her some pieces. I think she took 5 pieces and in 2 hours she sold 3 pieces.
Oh,
Like she
wow.
called me last. Yeah, because I left them there on consignment. I'm like, I don't know, see what happens. And that was my first. Um, and then I went into the next town and I said, "Hey, I'm selling out in that town. Maybe you want
Yes.
to see what's going on." So I just really try and make it, I don't like the cold calling. It hasn't really worked for me. It's about going into the store, showing my face, showing them my work, and having a conversation. And if they don't want it, they don't want it. My husband makes fun of me because no matter where we are, I'll like knock, knock, knock. Can I come in and show you my work? He gets embarrassed. I'm like, I don't know. The worst thing they could do is say no. So let them say no. And sometimes they've said no for whatever reason, but I'll find another store. So I'm currently in 5 stores.
It's beautiful.
Um,
So eyeball to eyeball. There's something that we
yeah,
talk about. It's like being belly to belly.
yeah,
Yeah. And 2025 live is what will make your business thrive. And this is exactly what Alyssa's talking about. She's going eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly in person so they can see the human being behind the artist. She's not sending them an email written by ChatGPT. She's showing up as
yeah.
a real human
And
being.
I think it's also about the relationship that I have such a
Exactly.
good relationship with these stores. And I've also walked away from stores where the relationship wasn't working for me.
Let's talk
There was,
about that. Share a story.
yeah.
Okay.
So there's a store, I won't name names, but
Of
there's a
course.
store in Nantucket, and she was actually selling so much she couldn't keep track. Like it was like a lot, and it was just shipped to Nantucket from here. It's not so easy. One piece arrived damaged, and then I had to return, and but she just couldn't keep track of her business. And I felt like I was back in the garment center, like with reports, and I don't know, it just got like it was a lot of work to keep up on her to be follow her sales. She couldn't even follow her sales. And it
Yeah.
just became a lot. And another woman, a store in Southampton I sold to, and they're just, I don't know, it just wasn't this love. She sold my work. I mean, it wasn't a problem, but there's the relationship between me and her. It wasn't, I didn't feel the love. And I just didn't, I don't know, after a while, it just kind of petered out like any relationship. So I
Yeah.
think you have to really, um, it's easy. I have a store in Pound Ridge where I could easily hire someone to deliver my stuff to him. And sometimes I do. But if I can get in the car and drive it there and deliver it to him, or my store in Bayhead, New Jersey, or and deliver it to them, I need that FaceTime with them. It's important. It's important to see how they show the work, what else is in the store, and just for to chat over coffee. It's important. So
It is. And there's something about the energy of showing up that they're in your corner,
yeah.
especially if they are not investing in your inventory and it's all in consignment. They don't have
Yeah.
any skin in the game at all.
Well, the only skin they have is floor space and wall space, right?
Exactly.
So that's what they're
Right.
giving me. And I
Yeah.
think this came up in our pods last week, which I love my pods. You know, people who are trying to get into galleries and get into galleries, it's a different mindset with a retail store and consignment. There's something to say that there's not much at risk for them, the retailer, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little easier to break into than being, let's say, in a gallery, which just has a different air about it. And so, I don't know if you want to hear this, and I actually stopped doing art shows because where I would do art shows, for me to drive to the space, to drop the thing off, have to work 2 hours at the show, to have to come back if it didn't sell, pick it up. It ended up to be like 6 hours of my time in summer traffic to make the $200 on the small piece because they only let small pieces in the show. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
I stopped doing those types of
stop
shows that
that.
I think you're referring to very early on, where it was the jury to get one or two pieces in a show.
This isn't even juried, it's member, but because they have so many
Or
members, your pieces
member.
have to
No,
be small.
or
Yeah.
member. Yeah, one or the other. Like I was like, I don't want to be part of your small works show. I rather have a solo show of all small
Yeah.
works myself, where it's all my
Yeah.
art, and then I spend any time promoting. So I stopped doing those one or two pieces type of situation very early on in my career.
Yeah.
So
But it's something I would advise to other advisors to really see how much effort that they're putting in to put the one piece in the one show, the drop off, the driving, the picking up, the that. Like it's a lot.
no, it's
I
a lot.
deliver,
I didn't think
yeah,
that's
I
what you
can,
were referring to at first. What I thought you were going to
yeah.
refer to, which is still a lot of work, but it's more worthwhile, is the in-person like 2 day show, which is a lot of
Oh,
work, but you have your own booth. It's like you have your own pop-up store for the
yeah.
weekend. Whereas the juried show, or like you said, where it's a member show, I agree with you. I let those go very early on. Like after I
Yeah.
racked up my ribbons and my I would use it as an excuse for publicity. Like I would send out a press release, oh, I'm in the show, because they were more likely to make press about a group show than something I was doing on my own. But after that, it just wasn't in terms of dollars,
Yeah.
didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I always say, like, I'd rather give those stores the 40% commission and I'd be sitting at the pool. I mean, that's the truth.
right.
No, it's the truth.
It is true. Yeah.
It really is. They're there to work and sell all day long. Let them, I'm happy, so happy to give them 40% commission.
And I do want to speak about something you mentioned earlier that I want to make sure the listeners understand, which is why it's easier to break into a retail than it is a gallery. With a gallery, they have an opportunity cost that they want to make sure that all the artwork on their walls is going to make money for them, is going to sell. So it is a bigger risk for them to take a gamble on a new artist whose artwork may not sell. Whereas, because it's taking away a spot on the wall that could go to an artist whose art will sell. Whereas Alyssa putting her art into a home decor store, their bread and butter isn't necessarily what's on the walls. Their bread and butter are the sofas or the window treatments or whatever it is, the other things. So it's less opportunity cost for them to put your art on the wall, right? Because that's not their main business.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's worked. I've been doing it for 12 years, going on 13 years of doing this. So it's worked for me. The
It's
only thing I may
fantastic.
do with this work is there is a gallery I'm looking at. Maybe I would put it in a show, just test the market on it. Because it's different work than my other work, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. So, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners before we call this podcast complete?
Uh, no, I mean, I'll just talk about the incubator that, it's a great program. There's so many tools that you offer, and I can't even say that I've taken advantage of them all. Like there's a lot, but sometimes I just walk around the house and just like listen to your podcasts. And today I listened to one. It was kind of old actually, but it was like, I don't remember what it was about, but the theme was underwear, the price of underwear,
Yeah.
the Hanes versus whatever. About pricing. Anyway, that was the one I listened to today. So there's just so much information that you offer, it's good. And I have to soak it all in.
Yeah. And you mentioned your pod earlier. Tell us about how that accountability pod works for you. How you, because it's
Oh my
every
gosh.
pods are different.
Yeah. Um, my pod, I think we're just each other's biggest cheerleaders, to be honest with you. And we share a lot of resources with each other. Like, oh, I tried this, it worked, it didn't work. Or we try and encourage each other to maybe raise our prices, or we're excited to show each other our new work, or cheer them on if they're having a show or if they're stuck. I don't know. I just feel like we've become good friends, and everyone's work is so different from the next, and everyone is at such a different level and even price points. So there's no judgment. It's just how could we help each other?
Nice.
It's
And you don't
yeah.
feel people who are beginner are pulling you down, right? If you're more ahead than them. Because I know
Do you know
some
what's really
artists feel
funny?
that way.
There's a woman in our pod. I think she's still in there. I feel like I don't know if hers expired or not, but I really did feel like she was pulling us down at the beginning. And then she discovered this new sense of creativity within herself. And then she had her son-in-law or someone build a website. Or I think she went on art storefronts, to be honest with you. But like her whole demeanor changed. And
Hmm.
like she was like a different person. And I don't know if the pod did that for her, but like we've been encouraging her all along. And like to see her growth has been remarkable,
That's
actually.
fantastic. Well, that's great. All right, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending your time with me here
Thank you.
today.
My
Um,
pleasure.
all right, my friend. So I will see you the same time, same place next week. Until then, stay inspired.